Hi, everyone. It's Lin Bouthillier from linbouthillier.com. I'm a certified trauma recovery coach, and I would love to welcome you to yet another video in my ongoing series entitled Monogamous at 13. This is special episode number 151. I'm so excited. I've made 150 special episodes, now 151. And there are, I think, somewhere around 100 of the original episodes, which were the chronological telling of my story. I took a break from that because I just wanted to get to some other things and speak about some concepts that weren't quite related to that time in my life, but I thought they were relevant now. And if you haven't watched the beginning videos, I invite you to go do that, but I'll give you a subtle warning, or maybe not so subtle warning. My videos are terrible at the beginning. I get all kinds of offers now for people to, I get emails almost every day. Somebody wants to either do SEO on my videos or they want to edit them. They say your content's great, but they are in tremendous need of editing. And for that, I apologize to my viewers, but I'm not too worried about that right now. More important is the message and not the quality of my videos. But so what I'm saying now is that when you go to the beginning videos, all the way at the very beginning, the ones that were made last November, you'll notice I don't look like the same person. I don't sound like the same person. That is what I looked like when I was absolutely terrified to tell my story. I was scared to death. I did not know what kind of repercussions were going to come down from people in my family or people in my community. And in trauma recovery coaching, we refer to this as a person being the truth teller. And we know that very often there can be repercussions for a truth teller, because people who would abuse you they'll continue to abuse you if they think that you're harming them, if they feel attacked by what you're saying, or if they're afraid of being exposed. And every single abuser is frightened of being exposed in the light. And sometimes that's exactly what needs to happen, because one of the ways that we can get the abuse to stop is to shine a big light on the abuse. Well, as a certified trauma recovery coach and as an abuse survivor, I feel that there's a lot of value in sharing my experiences, because I can't hear it, in your apartment or wherever you are, walking down the street, listening, with your earbuds. I can't be there with you when you're going, oh my God, that happened to me too. I've never heard somebody else say out loud that they had that happen to them. And what does that give my viewer? Gives them that feeling of, I am not alone. I have somebody who gets it. I have one contact out in the world that hears me. They know what I'm going through. They went through it too. And none of us wants that for each other. Nobody. I don't get comfort from knowing, hey, you were abused too. No. What I do get comfort from is knowing that there's information we can share with each other that helps us have clarity. And with clarity, then we can have some ability to make a decision. When we understand what has happened, then it's decision time. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to take the best care of myself? What am I going to do to bring about the best recovery that I could ever possibly have? How can I lavish care and attention on myself so that I can heal the wounds that I'm carrying that are inside of me? Some of you, sadly, some of the wounds are on the outside of you, but they can all be healed. Everything can be healed. And there's not one of us that was born onto the planet that doesn't have the ability to heal. I had the experience of, this has nothing to do with abuse, but it happened from a highly traumatic accident. My son was in a coma for weeks. And I did not truly think, if somebody asked me, just come on, you and me in private, nobody can hear us. Do you think he's going to make it? My answer would have been not a solid no, but I don't think so. And then as time went on, I'm witnessing every single day. I'm basically in the room just talking to him and staring at him, just taking my hand and just stroking his shin lightly, because I had no idea where he hurt and how much pain he had, and just the lightest touch, and just saying, it's your mom. It's your mom. I'm with you. You're not all by yourself. I know you're in pain. I know that you're uncomfortable. I know that you're scared, but I'm telling you, you're not alone. We're all here with you. We're going to be with you no matter what happens. And if you decide to go home, meaning to die, you decide to go home, that's okay. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm never going to be mad at you for doing that. I will see you when I get there. And then we'll have just the greatest reunion. And I'll be so overjoyed to be with you again. But if you need to go home now, I accept that. And I will never, ever, ever be mad at you or disappointed in you. And then he began to recover. He was healing. He was healing himself. And some of you who are very religious, I don't mean to offend you. You can have your beliefs, and I can have my beliefs, and every other of the 8 billion people on the planet can have their own beliefs. But in this case, it was my beliefs in my child. And if that offends you, that I say that my child was healing himself, you may feel that it was God healing him, and you're entitled to that. But I believe the God spark is in all. And I took it really seriously when I read the scripture that says, are ye not all gods? Christ was asking people, don't you recognize that you have the power and creativity of God inside of you? And so some of you might be saying, well, you're being really blasphemous right now. And that's okay. You're still entitled to your opinion. But the point that I'm making is I witnessed my own child healing himself. And I know for certain that I heal myself every single day from all of the traumas that I've had. Whatever one is coming up the most for me is the one that I heal that day. And for some of them, we heal a little bit every day for the rest of our life. And I've had a few where they were healed in a short time and they just don't come up anymore. That means healed. Because how do we know? How do we know what's healed? By whether or not it still causes us pain. That's the best gauge that I could ever, use to assess whether or not I still have an emotional wound. So it'll be a memory, and it's a memory I don't like, but I'm not on the floor in a fetal position praying to die from that wound, severe, horrifying wound. So if you have not already brought yourself into a state of anchored and groundedness, it would be an excellent time to do that. This has a trigger warning on it. This discussion is going to contain information about abuse, and it's going to have information in it that involves some responses that I had to the abuse, and it could be triggering for you. And I'm not going to give explicit detail of physical or sexual abuse. I'm only speaking about verbal, emotional, psychological abuse with a possible reference to sexual abuse, but I won't describe anything like that. All right, so I have my little stone. This is a little piece of, I believe it's red jasper. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous little egg-shaped stone, and it's from Lake Erie, and it's so nice to hold on to. So I have my little grounding tool. I still miss my holy stone. In a few days, I'll be over it. All right, so today's topic is about when the narcissist plays the victim. They love to play the victim. And I'm going to give you a rather intense example of how they play the victim. But first, I'm going to read you a short article that's at psychcentral.com. And the article is, Why Do Narcissistic Personalities Play the Victim? And this is medically reviewed by Kendra Kubala, PsyD Psychology, written by Sandra Silva and Tracy Peterson, updated on May 6th, 2021. And most of this information, I don't think is likely to change because narcissists aren't likely to change. It's what my father used to refer to as, he wasn't speaking about narcissists because he was one and we didn't know that word then. But except for in high school, we learned about Narcissus in Greek mythology, but that was the only way. And there were the Narcissus flowers. We also call them paperwhites. So we knew about the flowers and we knew about the Greek mythology, but we didn't know how that name came to be applied to people who are low on empathy and low on ability to engage in a manner of, embody love, light, truth, compassion, and human decency. So here we go. Excuse me. Narcissists may play the victim if they believe they gain something from making you feel guilty. Their tendency to use manipulation tactics is one of the formal symptoms of narcissistic personality. They're highly manipulative. We also call that Machiavellianism. When it's off the charts manipulation, it can be part of the dark triad or the dark quad, which means narcissism, Machiavellianism, sadism, and antisocial personality traits or psychopathy or sociopathy. But the Machiavellian part means they're not just narcissistically manipulative. It's not just run-of-the-mill narcissistic manipulation. It is in a whole new Olympic category of manipulation. That's why it's part of the dark triad, part of the dark quad. All right, so here is a question. Have you ever played the victim? If so, do you remember the emotional need you were trying to fulfill or express while doing so? It's the same for someone with a narcissistic personality, but they may feel it more often. It can be challenging for you to think of a person with narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, as the victim of someone who feels like one. After all, someone with a narcissistic personality is often thought of as a person with a grandiose sense of self. Let me pause here and say, yes, that's true. It is sometimes what they have, a grandiose sense of self. But in a covert narcissist, they're still a narcissist and they do unbelievable damage to other people, to their emotions, to their psychology, to their relationships, to their system, to their biology, and to their brain. But you might not see anything very grandiose about them. And there's multiple types of narcissistic people who do not exhibit grandiosity in the traditional sense. But their entitlement, the entitlement they feel to do what they do is absolutely grandiose, but they're not driving around in a flashy car, wearing expensive clothes, living in a mansion, all that. No, they're not. No, not all of them are like that. But I'll go back to that. Oh, I just lost my page. My phone locked up. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll read that sentence again. After all, someone with a narcissistic personality is often thought of as a person with a grandiose sense of self and an unlimited need for power. So what does it mean when a narcissist plays the victim? Is it on purpose? Is it a manipulation tactic? Do they truly believe they're being victimized? Well, let's pause for a second here to say that grandiose narcissism might have people who are playing the victim. Okay, if you're a grandiose narcissist, you absolutely could be doing that. But the ones who really, really, really do it are the covert narcissists. They love for you to feel guilt and shame. And for them, that's like, it's like a 7-course meal. They just can't enjoy it enough, manipulating you so that you feel guilty and so that they can be the victim. Narcissistic personality disorder, often referred to as narcissism, is a complex mental health condition and never a personal choice. There are many reasons why a narcissist plays the victim, and the type of narcissism they live with may be one of the reasons. Narcissistic personality disorder and the victim mentality. Research from 2003 suggests that people high in narcissism may see themselves as victims of interpersonal transgressions more often than people not living with the disorder. In 2020, qualitative study, in a 2020 qualitative study, relatives of people with narcissistic personalities reported that their loved ones often showed a victim mentality. Whether narcissists really feel like a victim or just play the victim role to tweak social interactions to their benefit isn't always clear. If you've ever been in a relationship with someone with narcissistic personality disorder, you may have noticed that they lack both self-awareness and self-reflection. In general, people with narcissistic personalities have a difficult time being aware of their behaviors and how these affect others. They might not be able to see it, even when you point it out to them. This is why they might feel attacked when you contradict them or tell them they've just done something wrong. This just doesn't align with their inflated sense of self. What we're talking about here is a skewed reality. And you say, you just did that to me and it was unacceptable and it hurt me tremendously. And I would like that to never happen again. Do you understand me? And they'll say, I didn't hurt you. What are you talking about? I did something nice for you. I didn't hurt you. I talked about you with your family, but that's because we all care about you. And I'm like, no, 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 no. And I refer to this often because it's a really good teaching point. Yeah, sending my texts out when we're having an argument, a marital argument, and it's heading towards a breakup, that's not helpful. That is you doing something that is highly manipulative, and you're trying to, and at that point, I didn't get it yet. I did not know yet that he was doing something that I'll speak about further in this video. But it's when it goes into the realm of trying to convince, manipulating so much for the purpose of trying to convince other people that something's wrong with you and that they're perfectly healthy. And they do it a lot. It's not unusual at all for a narcissist to do that. This is part of the complexity of narcissistic personality disorder. The tendency to have low introspection combined with an exaggerated sense of superiority may leave them unable to see the situation in a way that doesn't fit their worldview. As a result, they may play the victim role in some scenarios. Why a narcissist plays the victim can be directly connected to some of the symptoms of NPD. Here are the symptoms: sense of entitlement, denial and low insight, grandiosity, projection, need for control, narcissistic rage, and low empathy. And let me point out here, please, narcissistic rage does not have to be loud. Narcissistic rage can be what we call silent rage. It can be something where you don't get any interaction for, let's say, about 10 days. That's narcissistic rage, and it's coming out in a passive aggressive way because they're trying to hide the rage from you because they don't want to be judged for their rage. So they'll go into silent treatment, or they'll just start taking your things and hiding them. They'll start breaking your things. They will start doing completely inconvenient things like taking their vehicle and blocking you in the driveway for no reason whatsoever. Just move their vehicle and put it behind your vehicle so you can't get out, or in front of it so you can't get out. Or they'll take your mail and hide it. They'll take your mail and leave with it. All kinds of things like that. That is one of the ways. There's a whole bunch of the ways that their rage, if they're prone to silent rage, because they might have been raised to believe that any expressions of anger make them a bad person, and they're not going to do it because they absolutely are so fragile and they're such a shame-based human being. All narcissism is based in shame. People who have had unbelievable shame and feelings of guilt and things like that in their childhood, that they have to abandon the real self and develop a false self. And that's how the narcissistic personality gets born. Abandonment of the true self, the core self, and then showing the whole world always a false personality. So, but narcissistic rage was the second last one, and then low empathy. There are people that I'm absolutely convinced are not experience low empathy. I'm convinced that they have zero empathy. And when we get into that realm, we're probably talking about possibly being comorbid with possibly an antisocial personality disorder type. There are a few different things that could be going on with somebody that we call that comorbid. Not everyone who plays the victim has narcissistic personality, though. Not everyone with narcissistic personality plays the victim either. Here, more in-depth information on why narcissists play the victim. Sense of entitlement. A person with narcissistic personality disorder may have a strong sense of entitlement. This means that they might believe they're inherently worthy of special treatment, recognition, and privileges. When things don't go their way, they might react with anger and feel the need to blame others for messing things up. A sense of entitlement might also lead someone with narcissistic personality to think anything they do for you is just the greatest. Here, I bought you a washing machine, but I already have one that works. Yeah, I know, but I thought this one would be better. That sort of thing. They just think that they have the right to do it. If they don't get enough praise and recognition for this action, they might act like the victim. I can't believe you act this way after all I've done for you. Oh, I did a video about that a few, maybe 1 or 2 months ago. After everything I've done for you, you're going to do this to me? It's shame throwing. In this instance, a narcissist might go from playing the hero to playing the victim. Next one is defense mechanisms. Everyone uses defense mechanisms in different circumstances and for different reasons. We're not usually aware when a defense mechanism is activated, but it serves a purpose. Sometimes it protects us from remembering painful experiences. Other times it might help us cope with perceived threats to our identity, integrity, and sense of self. People with narcissistic personality disorder may also use specific defense mechanisms to protect themselves from emotional pain. They will avoid emotional and physical pain at all costs. I mean, most of us don't want to experience pain. I mean, that's just part of being a human being. But a narcissistic person will go to great lengths to cover things up and hide things, and to convince people that what they saw, what they heard, what they smelled, what they touched, what they felt, all of it didn't happen, so that they don't have to feel pain. Some people with disorder live with delusions of grandeur. These are false beliefs about themselves that may make them feel they're nothing short of a superhero and invincible. Grandiosity is a similar defense mechanism where someone has a sense of power and self-importance, often not based on actual facts. A person with narcissistic personality may have developed these beliefs to compensate for painful childhood experiences. Because of this, self-esteem based on these false beliefs might be what clinicians call fragile. This means it's likely to change according to external factors. Excuse me, I'm going to start. I made so many mistakes. I'm going to start that paragraph over. Because of this, self-esteem based on these false beliefs might be what clinicians call fragile. This means it's likely to change according to external factors. If someone they like very much is near them and they don't feel so threatened, then they're going to be relaxed and they're not going to be saying and doing the harmful things as much as any person who makes them feel that they're in some sort of threat of not just being harmed, but being overshadowed. The threat of a person who stands up for themselves and has boundaries, that's a threat to them. Just having healthy boundaries to a narcissistic person is totally threatening. So they'll act different in a different surrounding. This bad guy versus victim train of thought may work to soothe their distress. For example, they might believe they're the smartest and ablest member of the team. But if someone else gets the raise or promotion, they believe they deserve more. They might explain it as jealousy from the boss. They can always find a reason why somebody got what they got, and it's not related to the real reason at all. They'll make it up in their head. Well, that happened just because blah, 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 blah. Or you two are buddy buddy. You know, you and the supervisor must be really good friends. You must be going bowling together on the weekend, or playing cards together with their, you know, spouse. No, it was based on job performance, and that person outperformed you, and they deserved the thing that they received. They're just nervous. I'll eventually get promoted to the position, so they'd rather sabotage me and help someone else instead. That's the kind of thinking they have. Another common defense mechanism in narcissism is projection. This is when someone unconsciously projects their own feelings or reality onto another person. It's not for me. It's not for me. It's them. Oh, excuse me. It's not me. It's them. For example, you might feel threatened in some way by a coworker, but you perceive the situation as them being jealous of you. Projection isn't something you fake or pretend. You really believe it. And in this case, projection may sometimes explain why narcissists play the victim. For example, if someone with NPD is highly competitive to the point of sabotaging someone else to get ahead, they might believe it's the other person who's trying to sabotage them. For them, a difference of opinion expressed during a work meeting with the boss might be interpreted as a coworker's attempt to hurt them. In that scenario, they may believe they're the victim of someone else's bad intentions. So the next one is need for control. And I don't want this video to run super long, but need for control is a very, very obvious one. Rage. It can sometimes be difficult for people with narcissistic personality disorder to take criticism or rejection. This might make them react in several ways, and one of them is rage. In this case, experts refer to it as narcissistic rage. One aspect of rage is feeling like the victim of someone else's attacks. I'm enraged because you attacked me. Another aspect is that even when a narcissist doesn't feel like somebody else's victim, they may realize that playing this part may make others back off and take back what enraged them in the first place. In other words, if you feel someone's doing something you don't like and that makes you mad, playing the victim can make the other person change their ways. Every person will respond differently. Some narcissistic people may attack you or treat you in a vindictive way whenever they feel rage, while others play the victim. And that's what I was saying moments ago. The vindictiveness for something they perceive that you did to them, not necessarily what you did to them, but they perceive it as a slight or an insult or just some other thing that could possibly cause them to feel rage inside. A narcissistic injury is what we call that. And then they respond with rage, and there you go. Things can go missing, things can get broken, your rights can be taken away, you can be punished with silent treatment, or you can be punished with constant, super extra too loud television or radio. They can find ways to just sabotage your peace. They will just remove peace from you. Next one is low empathy. Guilt is a human emotion that tends to keep us in check. When balanced, guilt may act as a deterrent for antisocial behavior. It says here, research suggests that some people with both vulnerable and grandiose narcissism may not experience guilt in some situations. This might make them more likely to use manipulation tactics to get what they want. Well, I can tell you, the person who has harmed me more than any other person in my life absolutely does not feel shame or guilt when they do terrible things to another person. They don't mind lying right to your face, and they feel no shame for doing it. No shame or guilt. Nope. For example, if you're expressing how hurt you feel for something they've done, they might not see it your way. They might not understand why that behavior would hurt you. For them, you could be complaining and treating them unfairly. In that scenario, they may think that of themselves as the victim, even if you're just saying that you're hurt or upset. I can't stress to you how huge that part has been in my life. Every single time I've ever said, please stop that, you're hurting me, immediately that person goes into victim mode and says, well, actually, you're the one who's hurting me. Why? By not tolerating what I'm doing. I'm doing something nice for you, and you're telling me stop. And now I'm hurt by you because you're abusing me. Saying no to a person is not abuse. Having boundaries is not abuse. But to a narcissistic person, possibly comorbid with other personality disorder type traits, they can twist anything. They'll tell you, I mean, they'll just insist over and over again that the sky is green and the grass is blue. Unless you're willing to concede that the sky is green and the grass is blue, then to them you have no value at all. None. So the next part is how to protect yourself. And it has a list of things at the bottom. I'm not going to read the entire article because this is running long, but just try not to take it personally. Don't take the bait. Don't internalize it. Don't idealize them, and don't engage. Essentially, when we have a narcissistic person in our life, the only way that we can effectively shut it down is to just disengage, just completely get away. They're not going to change. And that's how come every therapist or counselor that you could ever talk to or have sessions with is going to recommend that you get away. I had one it wasn't a psychotherapist, it was a psychologist that was working with me. And this is about 2 years ago. And what she said to me was, you're not going to have any peace in your life until there has been a complete dissolution of the marriage. And so she said, I'm hoping that the next time I speak to you for our next appointment, that you will be telling me the name of your attorney and what you've done so far, what steps you've taken for the complete and total dissolution of your marriage. And I hung up the phone when my appointment ended, and I called back a couple days later to the receptionist at that place to say, I'm no longer seeing anybody at your practice, no more. And they said, well, why not? And I said, because the psychologist completely stepped out of her scope of practice and is telling me that the only way that I can live my life is as a divorced person. And that she gave me the homework of I have to prove to her that I hired an attorney to bring about the total dissolution of my marriage. And I said, that is outside of her scope of practice. She has absolutely no right to tell me what I should do and give me legal advice, because saying you need to get a divorce is a legal action. She's giving legal advice, telling me to sue somebody for divorce. Now, I felt that just because it is and I will say this forever, if anybody who is working with you as a mental health practitioner has a planned outcome for your life, and you didn't bring it up and you didn't say that you want that, and you're not the first person to say it, and with them supporting you, if they just randomly say, you know what, I got the solution to this, you're getting divorced. And the next time you speak to me, I want you to prove to me that you started get the ball rolling, so to speak. To do that is to abuse a person. And I had suspected for a while that my psychologist that I was having sessions with was showing more and more and more signs of being a narcissistic individual. And then when she did that, she had crossed the boundary pretty severely that time. And I never called her, never spoke to her again. The only thing I did was give the receptionist I don't know if it's a medical secretary or whomever is at the desk taking in the phone calls, that was unacceptable and I'm gone. And so that was just my way of handling that. Every single person's entitled to handle it the way they choose. But for me, that was how I handled it. But even our therapist or counselor or doctor can show signs of being wanting narcissistic control. And that is not cool. It is not acceptable in any way for any person to have narcissistic control over us. And even when we're working with someone professionally, it's especially grievous because they have a code of ethics that they have to work within, and they must stay within their scope of practice. And unless that person also had licensure as a paralegal or, an attorney at law, they had no business saying that to one of their clients. So let's go into for a moment. I have to watch the time a little bit because I do have an appointment in a little while, but and I have time to go on a little bit further about this. This is something that is really important that we understand. We've heard in this article about how the narcissist wants you to feel guilty. They want you to feel guilty. They want you to feel ashamed. They want to play the victim. Some of them have figured out that they can get all of the people in your entire social circle, and that can include your workplace, it can include your congregation, but it most definitely includes your family of origin, your marital family, and your children, if your children are old enough. And it can include your neighbors. I don't know if I said neighbors already, but it can include your neighbors. And they just have the circle of influence going out wider and wider and wider and wider because they want something from all these people. They want all of those people to see them as victimized by who? You, me. They want to play the victim role so bad. This is where narcissistic triangulation is born. This is what causes it. They want to be given attention. They want to be given sympathy. They want to be given care. They want to be for someone else to caretake their emotions. And they want to feel supported. And they want to feel that they are not the person who did wrong to you. So they will work like it's their second job, trying to get so many different people pulled over into their side that feel sorry for them, that sympathize with them, and stand around like in front of a water cooler talking about how horrible she is. That is awful what she does to you. My gosh, how can you stand it? It's so terrible. And none of it's real. Or they'll take something that did happen, but add to it and embellish it and make it so now it wasn't just some small little disagreement. Now it's a big, huge, disgusting form of abuse that they had to suffer because you are such a horrible person. And then they get that rich, sticky, like sweetened condensed milk kind of supply. It's just, they just yum, 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 yum. I want it in my belly. I want that in there because then I'll feel full and I'll feel satisfied and I'll feel okay. And it's just like when we eat. We don't eat one time and be never hungry again. We have to eat, most of us have to eat multiple times per day in order to feel okay. It's just like that with a person with very high narcissistic traits. They have to be constantly getting supply or else they don't feel good. And it's very similar to the way our brain understands the signals of hunger. And their brain is reading it as I'm hungry for supply. I've got to get some. I feel needy. I feel emotional, and I don't like to feel emotions. And the emotions are coming up. So I have to get some supply to get somebody to remind me that it's not me that's the problem. It's them. And so I had an experience, and I've spoken about it many times, where my spouse was going to every single person in my family and trying to get them to believe something horrible about me, but he couldn't say what. I'll tell you what it sounded like. He told me exactly how he would say it to people, and he believed he had every right to be doing this. He did not see it as wrong at all whatsoever. He would contact somebody and say, I hope you can call me back. I just really, really need to talk to somebody. And who is the person that he's calling? My estranged sister. And so, she didn't call him on the phone. She texted him back. And she said, what's going on? I saw this text. It's in my phone. He showed it to me. I took a photograph of it. And it says, I am so worried about your sister. I'm gravely concerned. You know, if somebody told you, I'm worried about your mom or your dad or your brother, your sister, your partner, I'm so worried about them. In fact, I'm gravely concerned. Gravely concerned is a very, very heavy statement. And it implies that something is severely wrong. And the response was, why? What's going on? Is she okay? No, she's not okay. I didn't want to bring this to the family's attention, but now it's gotten so bad that I have to. Still hasn't said what's wrong, right? The next thing that comes is, oh my goodness, what is it? What is going on with her? And then the next sentence was just roughly, okay, I can't say exact words right now, but well, she hasn't been herself for such a long time. And now her personality has changed so much that she's barely recognizable. And then that prompts that sibling to say, you know what? I've noticed that too. And what her next response was, this is so funny. When she refers to our mother, she refers to her as Eloise Connor, not mom. Every single update she gives us in the group text has been Eloise Connor went to the emergency room because she had a fall, or Eloise Connor had a fever today and they gave her Tylenol and the fever resolved. She seems to be doing well. I was the healthcare proxy, and anytime I addressed the group, because I'm almost full no contact with them, the only thing I had was the responsibility as the healthcare proxy to share things that the family would probably like to know. And I didn't have to do that, but I did it. Very, very emotionless, just the facts, nothing else, no feelings, no descriptions, just, you know, Eloise Connor fell, early this morning, 4 a.m. I got a phone call to meet them at the hospital. It wasn't broken. She's in a wrist brace. So when you see her, don't be shocked that you see a wrist brace. It's just because she has a bad sprain. I was not saying mom because I didn't want to imply to these people that I am going back into contact with them, and to have a shared parent that everybody calls mom implies an intimacy that I don't feel with you anymore, and I'm not going to pretend it. So Eloise Connor it is. Okay, Eloise Connor is they put her on hospice, and well, I actually didn't announce that. But if I had, it would have said Eloise Connor has been put on hospice on such and such date. Just wanted all of you to have that information. When that happened, things were so antagonistic from my family that they didn't get that notification. I figured they're going to find out. When they go in to visit, a hospice nurse will be there, and that's how they'll find out. But because of the level of cruelty and backstabbing and triangulation and smear campaign and stuff like that, no, I did not go out of my way to offer information, especially because I had been removed from the group text because, and this is what was in the message from my former sister to my spouse. She only refers to our mother as Eloise Connor now, and that is so awful. It is so cold-hearted and nasty for her to be doing that. And we saw that she sent a text that had the F word in it to one of our sisters in the group text. And I'll tell you what it was. One of the sisters said to me when I made an announcement, and she didn't like it, and she asked for something else, and I said no. And she said, well, you know what you can do? And I answered, what? Are you telling me that I can go fuck myself? Is that what you're saying that I should go do? And then that's what got me removed from the group text. I was no longer welcome on the group text with all the siblings because, for information sharing about our mother, because I had the audacity to use the F word. So I had to be disposed of. I had to be kicked out permanently. And like Dr. Roberta Shaler used to say, when they give you the silent treatment, don't get upset. Don't argue about it. Just relax and enjoy the silence. And I think that that is absolutely fantastic advice. And I share that with my clients and in my videos, but I always credit Dr. Roberta Shaler with those words because that was her intellectual property. It was what she used to say very often to all of us who were attending her podcasts. So when they start doing this to you, it's projection. They want the family to think that you're the one who has a mental illness or a personality disorder or some sort of thing that's making, with my spouse, it was some big, huge, awful, nebulous thing that's going on with her. I don't know what it is, but you should see it. It's scary. She is scary at times. Okay. But, and the sibling was asking, but what is it that's causing this? Does she have a condition? Well, she's so out of control of herself and she won't come near me. She won't let me be near her. She won't let me touch her. She won't let me be in the house unless I give a certain amount of notice so she can leave. And she doesn't want anything to do with me. And I am gravely concerned about her because she's showing all the signs of being mentally ill. None of that is mental illness. It's called boundaries. It's just simply healthy boundaries. But a person who is highly narcissistic, they will twist that boundary or set of boundaries that you make to mean I am being personally attacked by this person. They won't give me what I want, therefore I'm attacked. And then they'll go out and disseminate to the world that you have attacked them. But every single thing that I saw that he showed me was him telling people again and again and again and again, I'm so gravely concerned about your sister. I'm so gravely concerned about your friend. And immediately comes the answer, why? What's going on? Well, you should see her. She's just not the same anymore. And he actually told me this, and he told other people this. The same sweet girl that I knew in high school is gone. I am really upset because the same sweet girl that I knew in high school is gone. And to that I say, hallelujah. No 60-year-old woman should still be the same exact person she was in high school. No, that would be so unhealthy. Every single one of us is going through our aging process. I'm a senior citizen now, and I embrace being a senior citizen. I love it. And I'm not going to apologize for no longer being bouncy and giggly like a 14-year-old. I'm just not, because that's not what I am. And I tried explaining it this way. Every 7 years or so, a human body regenerates all of its cells. All of them have been replaced with new ones. Takes about it's a 7-year cycle that we all go through. And at the end of that time, there are no cells left in the body that existed from, like right now, I have 0 cells in my body that existed when I was 14. None of them. They've all been replaced. Our cells replicate all the time, over and over and over and over again at an alarming rate. And so for me to be the same person that I was back then is virtually impossible. But calling person after person after person after person to manipulate and to exploit and to convince and to project and to gaslight, to invalidate, to minimize me. When it's virtually impossible for me to be the same person that I was back then, or even the same person that I was just a couple years ago, because we're in a constant state of evolution. Every single human being is in a constant state of evolution. And when our goal is, when we're healthy, when we're truly healthy, and that can be in the process of healing our trauma. It doesn't all have to be healed and then we're healthy. No, we're healthy during the process. It's not some moment that comes later when we become healthy. We're healthy now because we're addressing our trauma. We're healthy now because we're learning about the abuse that happened to us, learning the language and the vocabulary so we can speak to ourselves out loud or silently inside and just say, I know now that person was disordered. They were trying so hard to get me convinced that I was the person who was faulty, bad, broken, malfunctioning, incomplete, shameful, should feel guilty. But I never was. And that is the truth. This is what being healthy is having awareness and caring how we feel and knowing the difference. And if we don't, learning the difference. We're in the process of learning. That's great. That's healthy. But if we're still stuck in a situation where someone has full access to us and we're being abused and abused and abused and abused and abused, it's highly likely that we are not healthy at that time. But when we pivot just a tiny bit towards, oh, I can see now that this is abuse. Well, that's just a huge giant leap in the direction of healthy. And then, well, I need to look at more of this. I need to understand, what is this called when somebody does this? All of that curiosity, it brings you towards being creative. It brings you towards taking in information, takes you towards resources. It takes you towards videos like this one, books, discussions, TED Talks, all kinds of different things that are resources out in the world for you when you're healing your trauma. Now, let's go back for a second to the big giant. I mean, it's just a smear campaign. What can you call it? Mine got nicknamed. Nicknamed it the big stupid ugly. Yeah, the big stupid ugly happened. That's my name. I nicknamed the smear campaign so I could make it sound really dumb, because it is. It's hurtful and it's stupid and it's awful. It's really ugly. So it's called the big stupid ugly. It was stupid. Truly was. I'm not calling any individual stupid. I'm calling the smear campaign stupid. Because it was just a bunch of dogs chasing their tails. They all just were trying to get something that they really can't get. They can't consume. But they were expending huge amounts of energy doing it, and everybody needed a scapegoat. And when you're the scapegoated family member in your family or at your church or at your workplace, or you just happen to be the scapegoated person in any situation, and if you're in one, you might be that in other ones, in other environments. But when you recognize that you're a scapegoated person, can't be scapegoated really without there being at least one narcissistic person involved in the scapegoating of you. Because healthy people, guess what? Don't do it. Healthy people do not scapegoat other people, meaning put impressions out to other people that person should be maligned. They should be marginalized. They should be othered. They should feel ashamed. They should feel guilty. They're just not good enough. They're just somehow, shameful, faulty, bad, broken, and malfunctioning. And we all need to know it. We all need to recognize that. And that person really should just be held at arm's length. In fact, if it's a family, they might even say, just like the way a Concord grape can be popped out of the skin. Well, we're doing that. We're popping that person right through the membrane that holds this family together. We're just popping them right out to the outside. And then the seal closes up and they're on the outside, we're on the inside, and we're one big happy family. And we should all be so proud of ourselves that we kicked somebody out because we didn't like that they were a truth teller. It's essentially what happens. And so the abuser, the narcissistic person, absolutely has to make other people see them as a victim, or else none of the garbage that they're doing has any effect. It just doesn't work. It won't take off. It's like a lead balloon. It's just never going to fly. So when we have this recognition that one of the things that a narcissist wants to eat every single day, they can't get enough of it, is you being the problem and them being guilt-free. And it seems to be something that must be enormously satisfying to them, or else they wouldn't do it. And they wouldn't do it so long-term and so intensely with so many people. So it seems like a lot of the stuff that I say here comes back to the concept of narcissistic triangulation and smear campaign. Yes, because it's one of the most, it's like a smorgasbord of tactics that they can use. Having all these different people that are totally tappable sources of supply to be used against who? You. If you're the target, if you're the target of abuse to that narcissistic person, that abusive person, if their favorite target is you, they're going to be so delighted to use people all around you. And some of us, like me, can have it go on for years undetected. I suspected it, but every time I confronted him, he looked right at my face and said, "No, I would never do that to you." But he wanted those people to give him sympathy, to give him support, to give him attention, to see me as flawed and malfunctioning and sick, mentally ill, disturbed, so that no one would ever suspect him of having those very problems. And so, yeah, narcissistic projection is absolutely real. And playing the victim is something that they can't get enough of. They just can't. So now, what do we do about it? What can we do about it? Same as I always say, self-care, excellent, excellent, excellent self-care. Lavishing, beautiful, wonderful, soothing self-care on ourselves. Focus on something you love to do. I got myself back in school again. Okay, I did school in 2022, and I will be completing the school that I just enrolled in to become a rapid transformational therapist and hypnotherapist. Will be finished in March of 2025, hopefully. I think it will be. And then I have a whole new thing that I can incorporate into my practice for the purpose of what? I'm not doing it because somebody is bothering me. I'm not doing it because I think it's a good knee-jerk response to being, triangulated and made to feel like, someone is victimized by me and I want to undo that. It's not that at all. Part of my self-care is to just focus. I'm going to be self-focused, not going to be dwelling on that person and what they're up to and who they're talking to or any of that garbage. I can't stop that. None of it's true. I don't care. Let him exhaust himself doing that. That's fine. No problem. But I'm over here living my best life. A few miles away in a separate town, living a totally separate life. And what I do with my day, every single day, is I get excited when I wake up in the morning because I get to have one full day again, brand new one, just starting, of functioning at my best. Whatever is the level that I can function at today, I'm going to do it the best I can. I have some days where my function is higher and some days where my function is lower. I am a disabled person. I do have severe back problems. And so I accepted a long time ago that some of my days aren't going to feel so good, but I'm still going to function at the highest level I can for what's going on. I don't judge myself against everybody else. I judge myself against how I feel today. Am I having a lot of pain? Am I having a lot of inflammation? Am I having a lot of restriction of movement? Well, then I'm going to tailor my day and what I can do today to what my body can tolerate. And then that makes me have a whole different feeling towards what I do or what I don't do. If I have a day where I have to have the day pretty much being sedentary, I will say, well, then this is a reading day. This is just going to be a day devoted to reading because that's what my body can tolerate. And so I lavish self-care on myself, and then I give myself some affirmations like, you did it. You did what you set out to do. That's really awesome. Or if I didn't complete a task, I could say, you did the best you could under the circumstances. And it doesn't matter if you didn't complete it. You will complete it over time. It just wasn't in the time frame that you expected, but you're doing it. You are doing it. And that's a lot to be proud of. So we can reframe these things. The self-criticisms can be reframed. And that goes a long way in recovering from when someone is making us, using us, they're exploiting us so that they can play the victim. Whenever somebody's doing that, we can't undo that thought and that behavior in that person, and no amount of talking to them will get anywhere. We just look to the self, we turn inward, and we think, how can I be the best, highest iteration of myself today? And if that involves shutting off my phone, putting it on silent, blocking that person is best. Blocking them or taking them right out of your phone and block their number and then take them out of your contacts. No communication except for conversations can be recorded. There's recording apps, but I find that emailing is really excellent because they can't get into your email server and delete your messages. And if it ever does come to, a legal issue, then you'll be able to have proof that, look at my texts. They're very factual. They state, times, dates, places, incidents, with no emotional description or name calling or anything like that in them. And just let the texts, let the emails speak for themselves. Meaning, if you're trying to prove that this person is harassing you, if it gets to the level of harassment, then you can just take that to a court and say, all of my emails will show you exactly what's going on. Because if there's an incident, a really important thing we can do is document it, just the facts. And then they can't get rid of it. They cannot get rid of it. If it ever gets to the point where you need to get an order of protection for yourself from that person, get an order of protection against them. When you go into court to get that, your emails can be reviewed by the court, and they'll be able to see how often that you are being having your life interrupted by the actions of a person who wants to convince people that they are victimized by you, but your emails will prove that you were victimized by them. And if they check that person's emails back to you, it may have 0 allegations against you. There might be nothing because there's nothing to report, right? There's nothing for them to say that you did if you didn't do something. If they do make up things about you that have never happened, then all you have to do with the response in the email is to just say, that is provably false. And then you just make your brief statement about why it's false. No emotions, No extra descriptive words, just the facts. And then, your name and the date. And that's all you need. You don't need to get into it with them. And if they're hurting you over and over and over again, and you're like me, and you have a reason why you're not going into court and getting an actual divorce from them, if they're your spouse, one of the things that in domestic violence counseling is very standard for them to say this to you. Even if you get divorced, if you've got children together, you cannot get fully separated from them. It just will not happen. And with some people, with certain personality types, if you go after them legally, it is like taking a big 2x4 and walking up to a big, huge hornet's nest in the broad daylight and just whacking it until they all come out. It's going to be like that. So for some of us, distance and just living your best life is enough. And every single person's situation is different. And so one person can't say, well, I think you should go no contact and never, ever, ever see them again. Well, what if you got little ones? What if you're afraid? What if you think if you actually go full no contact with them, move away, whatever, they might follow you? These are things that we have to take into consideration. But for me, what works is having certain things in place. I most definitely have an attorney. Most definitely. It's a divorce attorney. And what her advice to me has been, keep distance, communicate as little as possible, make sure it's all recorded, whether it's a phone call or, obviously an email is a recording of the conversation. Just it's in print. And so either one of those, just don't have a conversation with this person without having any record of it. You must record what goes on between the two of you, because if you end up, in court and it's for a divorce, you'll be able to prove that the abuse is real. And it is real. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. I hope that you find some resource here at my channel. If you do, I invite you to please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, put comments in the comment section. When you share my videos, please feel free to share it on any platform at all, any of your social media. That would be so wonderful, and I appreciate it. Hit the like button now. Hit the like for this video if you are watching it. That would mean so much to me. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that you understand that self-care is never, ever selfish, and that you are infinitely worthy of your own trauma recovery. If you want to reach out to me to inquire about one-on-one certified trauma recovery coaching sessions, you can find me at linbouthillier.com. You can email me at lynn@linbouthillier.com, or you can call my number, which is 716-994-3052. All of that information, if you didn't write it down, it's in the description page for every one of my videos. So I'm very easy to find, and I would absolutely love to work with you as your co-equal peer-to-peer partner on your recovery journey. Have the best day, everyone. Bye-bye.